Lemmings. Last night I dreamed I was a lemming. You've heard of those, right? If you haven't, they're these cute little rodents with attentive black eyes and multicolored pelts, typically found in the Arctic. Cousin to the vole and the muskrat, lemmings are twitchy, always acutely aware of their surroundings at all times. I'm like that too. Anyways, they have a short tail, stubby snout, and a fattened claw on the first digit of their front feet, which helps them to dig perfect burrows in the snow of the tundra. Their incisors never stop growing, a burden of enamel and dentin, and imagine the compulsion of that. Teeth pushing and cutting through the mouth in an effort to obtain freedom, abandoning the host in favor of extraction? It must drive a lemming mad, you know? I'm thinking about it now, and my gums are itching, and if I had a pair of pliers, I might just start yanking and pulling and snapping until the blood runs down my chin in messy globs and collects in the goatee to drip against the tiles. Pitter-patter, the forecast calls for scarlet rain. I'm getting off topic. Most animals in the Arctic hibernate through the winter because it's miserable. Food is scarce, and temperatures are lethal. It's like sinking down into this purgatorial whiteout where nothing matters. Not the sky, not the muddled stars, not even the humdrum act of drawing breath into unenthusiastic lungs. But lemmings don't hibernate. They have intricate burrows, mansions beneath the earth with especially narrow hallways, those deep, dark soil chasms where grubs and worms wiggle against each other in sightless merriment. And the lemmings, those lucky lemmings, they get to watch it all from uncomfortable bed nests of feather, grass, and muskox wool. There are lice in those beds, and the lice love the lemmings, and so they scratch at their little bodies, quite comical really, leaving superficial mutilations along their flanks in a desperate attempt to dislodge devils that want nothing more than to consume them. But we all have our demons, right? I'm sure you do too. Mine are legion, and they feel like lice as well, but beneath the skin, and there's no scratching for that. The torment twists under mounds of flesh, and it builds and it builds, and it gets to a point where you are absolutely sloshing with it. And I wonder if people see it inside of me, this torturous hate, the sum of my broken parts, insecurity, anxiety, delusional and driven by unspeakable fantasies that sit in a pool of curdled mind milk that I'm not allowed to show the world, lest I brand myself the ultimate pariah. Where were we? Oh yes, the struggles of lemming life. They fuck with more vigorous intensity than rabbits. Their populations boom and fluctuate, this chaotic coupling, a scream in the blank face of death. The intent being a proclamation. We are alive. We seek pleasure and sensation and the sense of self that has always eluded us. It's strange, because other rodents tend to be extremely shy and timid, but not these willful creatures. They're extremely aggressive when confronted with natural predators. A certain streak of rebellion, as if to say, "Eat me, choke on me, let me slide down your gullet and let the small shards of my bones cut rivets into your esophagus. Let me be poison in your blood. Let me annihilate you from the inside out, for I am tiny, I am nothing in your eyes, but you'll live to regret that mistake. And when the gaping, sulfur-belching maw of hell opens to take me, I'll be bringing you along for the ride." Lemmings do not care. There's a resigned nihilism to that, acting with no fear of personal consequence. I imagine a whole brood of them jumping into the gore-streaked jaws of a polar bear, each one fighting for the warmth of his throat, digging their fattened claws into sensitive mouth meat for purchase, and the great white predator dancing drunkenly on his paws as he suffocates. Life is precious, but sentience is cheap, and it is everywhere, and I would like very much to grind it up into powder and snort it to give myself the dopamine rush that never seems to come no matter what I do. Would that fill the empty? The everlasting empty. There is a misconception about lemmings. A few old fellas, long dead now, dust in the splinter remnants of their coffins, pose that lemmings commit mass suicide by leaping from cliffs and drowning themselves in the frigid depths of the sea. A few modern fellas repudiated this claim, making it clear that lemmings are migratory animals, and sometimes their grand journeys require them to leap and swim, and on occasion drown. But these modern biologists contend that it's just accidental, a byproduct of trying to swim a vast distance with such itsy-bitsy legs. No animal actually chooses mass suicide, right? That would be absurd. But I dream of them often, and as a result, I'm able to inhabit the lemming brain for those brief but important moments when perched en masse on the pitted edge of that barren cliff, the wind slicing through their coats like an unforgiving knife, and the ocean tumultuous and beckoning, cold fathoms of blackness promising the kind of sleep that requires nothing but the decision to let go. I'll tell you what that lemming is thinking when he's close to the edge. Come closer and let your unreliable narrator whisper it in your ear. It has to be intimate. I have to lean forward because the straps of my unfashionable white coat tend to bite into my chest. The cold metal of the steel buckles is stained maroon, but I don't mind that. I just like to gnaw on them on certain lonely nights when the shrieks from adjacent rooms become too much to bear. All right, that's better. I'm starved for human contact, and just those little downy hairs in your ear canal make me feel more like a person. You have courage, and you deserve a secret. So here is what they think in those fateful moments. They think not of mass suicide, for that is too simplistic. That's a few drops in the well, but it's no answer to a universal problem. The lemmings think of mass extinction. But unlike other species, they are obsessed with the concept of a self-imposed extinction. They hate themselves. They hate their beady eyes, their frail rodent bodies, and their pathetic 12-month lifespans that were never asked for, but given all the same. A lemming does not have the selfish, individualistic desire to die. Each lemming craves the wholesale ruin of their entire species. An end to the tundra, the households, and the pointless, pitiful nibbling of herbs and sedges. They are tiny, burnishing furnaces of self-loathing, and for them the roaring ocean represents that sweet good night, one last leap into eternity, and the chance to swallow down seawater and salty brine, to bloat and to sink as satisfied corpses down to that sunken place, long forgotten but still thriving in the deepest trenches. Lost Lumeria, where dead things compose sonnets and extinction is rebirth, the chance to start again as something new. I've been there. There are castles built up from lemming bones and all those self-sacrificing kamikazes, and the only light comes from the dim filaments of the anglerfish that weave through ribcage great rooms, seeking whom they may devour. She's down there too, in her gown of wet, multicolored pelts, her crown of gleaming rodent skulls, and a lingering cuttlefish kiss for those that are worthy enough to make that noble death dive. I know you're tempted. How about it? Leap like a lemming. It'll hurt, I won't lie, but only for a few infinitesimal seconds. I know what you feel, dearest. I can smell it in your pores. It's the ultimate release, and if you unclasp the buckles along the back of this jacket, we can leap together, hand in hand. Lemmings are merely ahead of the curve. They're just showing us how it's done. I think we should follow their lead. After all, the human race deserves extinction. I'd even argue that of all the organisms on this earth, we deserve it most of all. Don't you think?